Welcome to the Chef Founder Podcast. Today, I had the pleasure of speaking with Andrew Whiting, the founder of Hot Drop Sauce. Andrew was recently featured on a cooking show with Gordon Ramsay. We had a great conversation about the beginnings of his business and where he plans to take it in the future. I hope you enjoy. Let's go. You ready?
I'm very ready.
Andrew, thank you for coming, man.
Thank you for having me.
You know, when I made a post, right, just saying we're starting up this podcast again, and I don't, had people like send me messages on who would be a good guest, and I got a lot of like restaurant owners and caterers and cooking, like food cooking related recommendations, which is great, and I love talking to those kinds of people. But when someone recommended you, I was like, yes, like this is great, a sauce company and a local sauce company. So thank you for coming. Really appreciate it. I'm excited to learn about your story and everything.
Yeah, the same thing. When somebody suggested it, I was like, absolutely. So I reached out instantly, and the person who referred it is her husband is a massive hot drop, a serious droplet is what we would call it.
A droplet.
Very serious droplet. Committed to the
cause.
like
a drop groupie, basically.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Part of the whole community of people who become avid supporters, connoisseurs, fans of hot drops. Yeah.
Is that Chris?
Or it's Ethan Hammond. Katie Hammond's
okay,
husband.
yes,
Yeah.
got it. Yeah. So I grew up with the McLaughlins, the Katie and her brother and stuff. That's cool. Yeah, Ethan's great.
Shout out to the Hammond family, always heavily supporing hot drops from day one.
Shout out.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, yeah, I mean, it's perfect. And and you brought a bunch, which is great. I love the label. I'm always looking at stuff like that, right? Like,
sure.
Obviously and this is the same with like prepared food too. Like eating it, taste is part of the experience, but like the visual look, right? And all these different things I think add up, and no different with a bottle of hot sauce.
Thank you. Yeah, it's definitely, from my perspective, it's one of those things that hot sauce is definitely in the business of condiments and CPG food, but honestly, hot sauce is just fun.
Yeah.
Like it's a way for people to, we say as like a part of our mission is to play with food. And if you love cooking, if you don't love cooking, it offers this kind of easy, familiar, complex ingredient in one bottle that you can use to enhance whatever it is you already like, or implement into things that you want to experiment with. So it's the ultimate ingredient.
Yeah, and I think it's fair to say like you could tell a little bit about someone with the kind of hot sauce they have too, right? I mean, the brand and the flavors and stuff. It can,
for sure. There's definitely, I think there's also there's this period of time where hot sauce was defined by how much pain you could tolerate
That's
through
right.
food.
Definitely.
And like,
yes. What do they call the Scoville thing, right? It was like, that was a thing.
The higher the Scoville,
sure.
the more like, I mean, I think there's a threshold where it goes from being this is good and delicious to this is a novelty item that will probably have a longer shelf life than my car.
Exactly.
And it's as a business person, I appreciate the people who did that because they drive this huge part of the hot sauce community. It's the reason why Hot Ones is we watch it. We don't watch it for the first 2 bottles. We watch it for these celebrities we know in pain.
If it was just the most enjoyable, delicious sauce, and it would not work. The model would not work at all, right? Yeah.
No, it's sense. Like that heat kind of brings out, at least on that show, a level of authenticity that you don't. They're so measured in all these, interviews.
Oh, it's a wild, that's so true. I never thought of it that way.
It's
right?
like it cracks the facade.
The PR facade's just gone.
It's like your body is physically reacting.
Wow.
And kind of under duress.
Huh.
And hot sauce is one of the only, products. There's a lot of food that's spicy, but spicy food in general, you can only measure your reaction so much. At some point, you're not thinking about how it looks. You're just dealing with the situation.
Surviving.
Survive. Yes. The goal is to survive, and so it's actually, we'll talk about it, but that's kind of a cornerstone of hot drops is I want people to want to grab it. And theoretically, if it gets in your hand off a shelf, it's more likely to make it into your cart for your house.
Oh, definitely. Right.
It's the same with wine. Like it's the same with alcohol. If you get it into your hand, statistically, it's more likely to end up in your house.
The conversion rate's way higher, right? And so any any way you can get someone to just get it in their hands is going to help you out.
Yeah.
Interesting.
It's a big part of it. It's a lot of subconscious consumer methods and behavior around. Once it's in your hand, you almost visualize it as like a part of your routine. So yeah.
So you've got 6 flavors. This is the lineup. This is a full lineup.
We actually have 7. Well, we have 7. 2 of them sell out instantly, so they're basically on like a pre-order.
Is that so? One of those here is one of those, or
So there's 2. This is
Oh
actually
no, we have 5. Sorry, you have 5. I can't
So
count.
there's a
There's
core.
5. God,
it's hard to count like vertically.
I know, it's like
line, you know? A lot of
angle,
primary
like
colors.
seeing
you know?
double. Okay, so yeah, so you have 5, and then the 2 that we don't have are like these. They just sell out immediately every time.
They're
pre-order.
Great. They're awesome. We can't make. I mean, it's a good problem. We just can't make them
problem.
fast enough.
Way better than the opposite of that problem.
Exactly. So yeah, we have essentially we have the core 4 sauces, which are not sauce here. Jalapeno, which is the yellow one. Yes, primarily made from Fresno chilies, is the white wax. And then the last one closest to you is Tropical Thunder. This is our newest one, and it's more of a seasoning sauce and a condiment than a hot sauce.
Okay.
But
so not a lot of heat or no heat, basically.
honestly, none really.
Okay.
There's a tiny bit, but that's like subjective, you know, like most people would try. If you like hot sauce and you tried this, you'd be like,
This is not hot sauce. Yeah.
Which I kind of have a conflict in being like, this is a hot sauce. It's hot sauce shaped, but it's condiment flavored. You know what I mean? So we'll touch on that. It's actually uniquely, this one is the same. It has 0 heat as well, but we're finding a unique corner of the market, which is that people love flavor.
Sure.
They also love heat, but they don't love it at the expense of heat.
Right.
Right? Like,
Yes.
it's almost like heat is an allergy sometimes.
Yeah.
We all know people.
Heat takes a backseat to flavor, basically.
Totally.
Right? It's not. Yeah.
It's interesting because people are sort of like, it's sort of like cilantro. You either have the gene that makes it taste like soap or you like cilantro.
Sure.
It's almost like an allergy sometimes. Like, I'm not going to eat pineapple if I'm allergic to it. I'm not going to eat spice if it makes me feel bad. So it sort of becomes this binary thing. But all the people who, that isn't to say if you don't like spice, you don't like flavor. There's plenty of people who love flavor, but just their body doesn't let them enjoy spice. So this one up here is unique, and it's become our #1 seller. It's called Not Sauce, and it has 0 heat, but it tastes exactly
Not
like
sauce.
a hot sauce. Yeah, exactly. It's just like a hot sauce, except not hot,
sauce.
you know? But yeah, it's a funny world. I mean, they're all very much predicated on flavor first. Because I don't want it to have the shelf life of a car, you know. I want it to be gone in 2 weeks, and I want people to want to use it and think about how they can apply it to all these different types of foods they like. So, pizza being one of them.
Pizza, absolutely. What are there any like standout ones for pizza that you use, or that like that's like one of the more recommended things to put it on?
So, in my opinion, pizza is sort of like a canvas for hot sauce. Like maybe not in the, you know, like when you get takeout pizza, a lot of people will instantly reach for hot sauce, ranch for sure.
Sure.
But like pepper flakes are usually given to you. So there's this heat factor you get right away.
It's assumed, right?
It's assumed. And like a lot of people, whether it's, you know, Tapatio, Cholula, Sriracha, whatever it is, I mean, I have tons of friends who are like, I got to eat pizza with hot sauce. And so I put it on hot sauce, but one of the big missions with Hot Drops is using it as an ingredient and a topping, but getting creative with it, playing with food, using it in ways that you might not normally. And so the white wax and the white label, the Yes, I'll actually infuse directly into pizza sauce.
Ooh, nice. Yeah.
So you get a little bit of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like you get a little bit of this like flavor kick with every bite, and they're all fermented. They're all lacto fermented. So they have this kind of unique, complex flavor that ultimately prioritizes the flavor over the heat, but still, you know, we want you to tingle. We don't want you to like,
right.
We're a hot sauce.
You need a little excitement.
Yeah.
You need a little
For
bit.
real.
So, all right, let's go to the beginning here. I mean, were you just like were you a sauce like aficionado when you were a kid? Like what? I mean, I'm just like, where was your first kind of interaction with like, this might be something I'm interested in doing sauce wise?
It's kind of a funny story because, you know, in my house growing up, we didn't have A1. We'd have ketchup, we'd have mustard. You know, my mom's from the East Coast, so like mayonnaise was like, you know, it's a bigger condiment.
The core group condiments.
Very core.
Got it.
A lot of, you know, tartar sauce. You got to have all the, you know, potato salads. So, but outside of those kind of legacy condiments, we didn't have like A1. Maybe we had barbecue sauce, but that was it. So I feel like my interest in sauce and condiments and flavor came from the fact that when I got exposed to it outside of my house, I was like, what is this? This is awesome.
Yeah.
And like my parents they're great cooks, but they cook kind of like whole meals. They don't necessarily, it wasn't just like you wouldn't make a steak and then bring A1 out. You would just, you know, it just wasn't a part of my reality. So when I found out about it, I was like, so you can combine this flavor with this flavor and create a different flavor. This is like, I enjoy the fact that I have, you know, it gives you some control over what you're doing. And it's really no different than if you go to a taqueria and you get salsa. It's like, yeah, I'm trying every salsa if they got a salsa bar.
So that just got it to a point where, I mean, you weren't necessarily, oh my gosh, I'm starting a career over this, but like an interest beyond maybe the normal kind of person on sauce and just how, you know, it all comes together.
My life, as long as I can remember, has revolved around being interested in food. And being interested in food is being interested in flavors.
Of course, yeah.
So all my first jobs were at catering companies or restaurants or something food related. And, you know, I grew up in wine country, grew up in Santa Rosa in Sonoma County, huge Epicurean agricultural area.
Right.
It's not only is it an industry, the agritourism aspect is an industry. Everything revolves around food, wine. You know, if you love that, it's a great place to be from. And I just got exposed to that at a young age, and I realized that I loved it and actually wanted to be a chef when I was in high school. That was my goal. It was like, I'm going to go to culinary school. I'm going to become a chef. I even took culinary classes like in high school at the JC in Santa Rosa so that I could learn more about, you know, knife skills, sanitation, the basics of running in a restaurant, working on the line, so on and so forth. So it all just came out of a desire to want to eat more food. Everybody who says they love to cook is because they love to eat.
They just love to eat food, and they want to find different ways to do it, to eat the food, right?
It's just an indirect way of saying I really enjoy food. It's saying I love to cook. It's
yes.
Like, yeah. I also 100%. Love it because you create, you know, environments and atmosphere with people, and the dinner table is the ultimate gathering place. And I think it's, sort of like a sacred space for community, and food usually enhances all those things.
It does. Yeah. I always look at it like, you know, whether you're talking about an outdoor kitchen or a dinner table, or it's essentially memory generators, right? You're just with these people you love, usually, you know, making memories, like the core memories that mean something that you actually, you know, remember.
Totally.
Happens like, around food.
Whenever you have anybody over to your house, where does everybody hang out?
Yeah. Where's the food?
Everyone's in the kitchen.
You know,
yeah,
exactly.
So yeah, at least that's a place where I find joy in not only experimenting with food and making meals, but also creating the spaces where that can be enjoyed, which is
contributing. Yeah.
So then that was like, I loved food. I wanted to be a part of that whole community atmosphere, create those types of scenarios where people could interact and then, you know, and enjoy food. But I never set out with the intention of I'm going to start a hot sauce company.
Right. Sure.
Like ever. Actually,
that would be weird, right? No, like just like coming in fresh. Like, okay, this is the right. You got to things happen, right, to kind of line up.
Totally. And like, I mean, we kind of briefly discussed this before, which is all these, like, hot sauce is sort of this combination of all the things that I did at some point or another up until the moment I started this product. And really, this started out of a desire to make holiday presents during the pandemic. I just wanted to create a present and give it away for the holidays instead of buy stuff. And so coincidentally, this was during the pandemic, and I had planted a ton of peppers in March, and they all become ripe around, you know, September, October. So what do you do with a bunch of peppers? You preserve them.
Right.
So you can only really dehydrate or ferment. Mm-hmm. So I had never really fermented anything. I mean, I knew about, you know, sauerkraut, kimchi, those types of things, but I looked up how do you process a ton of peppers, and I saw you can make hot sauces, and I thought this is a great way to be able to play with food. And I can create, you know, I had red peppers and green peppers. Cool, red and green, very holiday centric. I can turn these into a 2-pack and give them to friends and family. So it was all very much like a happy accident. I never started with the intent, even when I made the sauce, to be like, I'm going to convert this into a brand.
Sure.
You know, I'm going to quit my job and do this.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, they were Christmas presents. My sister is a designer by trade. She offered to make me a label that I wanted and have that be my gift, in the, you know, the sort of the thought of why don't we make stuff instead of buy stuff.
Right.
And so she made the label. I had exactly in my mind what I wanted. I told her this, that, I want the droplet, you know, and I want it to be see-through so that the sauce is the color. And then that was like literally the first bottles I made. They were wax dipped. They had the same kind of basic.
Nailed it right out the gate.
Yeah, I was like, I'm a very visual person. You could explain something to me like 50 times, but if you show it to me one time, I will remember it forever. So yeah, I had the visual in my head. She made it a reality. And then, we had rudimentary die cut stickers made, slapped them on bottles. I fermented the hot sauce for 35 days, blended it up, pasteurized it, put it in bottles. And I thought, if I want it to be kind of luxury, I should like dip it, like a Maker's Mark style. So I experimented around.
Dipping is very in right now, I've noticed.
It is. It's like you see it in different things all the time.
Yeah.
Wine has always been kind of a leader in that.
For sure.
But yeah, I mean,
It's definitely a trend right now, the dip, but it looks like you were ahead of the curve a bit.
I mean, I firmly believe that there's a time you could come up with an idea and feel like this is my idea, and then you see someone else do it. All that does, I think Rick Rubin says, is it reaffirms that it was time for that idea to happen. And so I think people crave not only good products, but they crave products that are aesthetically pleasing.
I look at that too, and like, I want to peel it off.
There's
and
an immediate sense
I can't do that unless I buy it, right? So there you go.
No, it's totally true. It's I mean, I used to get this satisfaction, obviously, because I love food growing up. Baby Bell cheese balls, little red wax.
I do those every day for my kids' lunch.
Yeah, they're delicious.
No, and that peeling the thing, it's so satisfying. And it pops right off, right? Yeah.
Really, it's not that different. You know, like it's almost like we're programmed to enjoy that because you're getting this. You peel it back, you get the cheese.
You're working for the reward.
You earned that. You earned that little cheese bill.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, the thought was. There's something funny around getting to unwrap it because it's like a gift for yourself, and it's the gift that keeps giving because you use hot sauce consistently. But yeah, I mean it's aesthetically pleasing, it's enjoyable to peel it off, it's interactive, and the coolest part about it, in my opinion, is in a sea full of hot sauces that all look the exact same in my refrigerator, the wax caps immediately grab my eye.
Pops. Yep.
And that's kind of a secondary benefit. It wasn't an intention per se, but there's a reason people are going through it so quickly in their refrigerators because most hot sauce bottles and most hot sauce brands, with the exception of 3 or 4, they all use the exact same packaging.
Yeah. Yep.
Which that's different. Like,
sure.
Not all, there's industries use the same 4 or 5 cans, for the CPG beverage space. Wineries use like the same 6 bottles, but it's interesting because when you see a bottle like this, you immediately think that's hot sauce. Nobody sees this and is like,
salad dressing?
Yeah. It's like salad dressing's twice the size and has maybe if you work at a cocktail bar, you love cocktails, you see it as like a bitters.
Sure. Yeah, maybe.
But bitters,
you have to be doing that as a profession. I think most of the general population kind of looks at that and immediately associates it with hot sauce or just flavor in general.
Yeah.
Right?
Or like, okay, so it's the thing I can add that I like. Like it's, that's why I say it's the industry of condiments and sauces and CPG food, but it's also like hot sauce is fun. It's just like people view it as this, like it's just a fun purchase. Like it's not that expensive, it's enjoyable, and it has this cult following.
Yeah,
like
I
people
can see that for sure.
Serious about hot sauce. It's like an identity plug. Like this is my sauce.
Wow.
I'm this.
Yeah.
People will tell me all the time at farmers markets, I'm really more of a crystal guy myself, and I'm like, that's so interesting, like it's the same way people are like, I'm more of an old Kaz guy, or I'm more of a Lagunitas guy myself.
Pilsner guy,
Yeah.
IPA, right?
It's interesting. So with those, they love a varietal, right? I love Pilsners, I love IPA, I love this.
Right.
But with hot sauce, people are...
Is it brand specific more? Got it.
They're not like, I love... Asian chili sauces, or specifically like Jalisco style hot sauce from Mexico, which is like Tapatio and Cholula is like tomato based, spices, water. It's specific. I am this kind of hot sauce consumer. I'm truff, I'm Yellowbird, I'm whatever. So it's interesting to see how people identify as I'm the consumer of this. This is like a part of my food character. I don't know. It's interesting to see.
Yeah, no, that's interesting. And I never really, I like hot sauce for sure, but also maybe I haven't found the one. maybe this is the one.
Dang, that could be one of these 5 right here.
But I know, I feel like with hot sauce, yeah, kind of just like whatever they have has been my mentality. But yeah, no, that's really interesting. So started as like a Christmas time gift thing, but what was like, when did it become, we're going to make some money, right? This is going to be a business.
Yeah. So my background was in sales for everything. And I wanted that. I like talking to people and understanding why they make the decisions they do, which is very helpful in the world of sales. And I'm genuinely interested in people's preferences. Like, it usually helps me open up my understanding to maybe a preference that I might like that I don't have. So I had worked in, advertising, sales. I majored in agricultural business, which is kind of where I ended up.
Yeah,
but
for sure.
I never graduated. I went to Cal Poly, San Luis Obispo. I graduated and it was 2011. So everybody was like moving to San Francisco and working in software or tech. So I moved to San Francisco, which, I wanted to do either that or New York, but definitely San Francisco was great. So I moved there, I got a job. I worked at Yelp doing ad sales. I wasn't one of the evil Yelp salespeople. Oh, yeah. I had a conscience, and
That's a thing for a while.
I had a big retention rate, which I think indicates that you did a good job, you know, because people would upgrade. So whatever, I got interested in a lot of small businesses, a lot of grocery stores.
You probably talked to a lot of interesting. Like
I was making 80 phone calls a day for 2 years.
All businesses too. Yeah,
all businesses that are typically like at very most like 6 locations. But sometimes, I'd be talking to like a 6-location auto shop, or like whatever. So, but I talked to a lot of grocers. I talked to a lot of, restaurants. I talked to people who I was interested in what they're doing because I've always had this entrepreneurial interest in my, in my life. And I am talking to people who have made a business out of it. So it's cool. And then I got into the world of, as an ag business major in the world of recreational cannabis was forming, and I was like, this is not only an opportunity for me to be a part of what is going to be or labeled to be a massive industry. It's also as entrepreneurial as you could get because you're building an industry. So I was like, this is great. I'm going to do this, learn as much as I can, and try to become, a figurehead in the cannabis space from a company management, VP, sales, whatever. Right. So I helped to build merchandise and market and sell a ton of early cannabis brands across the entire state in California. And I managed at one point, I was in charge of sales for every dispensary north of Central California.
And this was what year, around what
year? So this was like 2015 is when I started. So I left like the software world.
Right.
Just didn't satisfy me selling consumer support software for like Verizon or something. I was like, this is not check the box emotionally. Yeah. So I basically got into the business of building.
It's a Wild West. There's no, no one knows the rules, the market. It's truly is like, like freebasing entrepreneurship, right? Like going into something like that.
It's like, whose line is it anyway? It's like the rules are made up and the points don't matter until they do, you know? And honestly, I wish that cannabis as an industry had become what I think everybody who worked in it wished that it had become. It kind of, plateaued and then never really made the jump. And I have my own theories about that. But, like the biggest takeaway is that I was working for a distributor. We probably represented 25 different brands. These brands were all brand new. They were working with a distributor to gain shelf space, traction in the state of California. So it was my responsibility to represent these brands. I mean, I was basically the sales arm for like 20 different brands.
You had to have a different sales pitch for every single. You had to know each kind of business, right, and what made them who they were. So you probably got really good at,
And it was fun. It was like a game. It was like, it was a puzzle because you'd represent 2, cannabis drink companies. Okay, how do you sell those separately? Is one a premium and one like a, how does this work? And so a lot of it comes from asking questions, it's like, so what kind of customers do you have? What do they typically spend? Where is the area which helps me get an understanding of the landscape. But also I saw a lot of what worked for brands and what didn't work for brands.
Right, sure.
From the perspective of somebody who wasn't invested in them, I just had to sell them. And even if I sold them as best I could, some of them just didn't have a value proposition that hit and they would fall off.
And there's so many things I would assume too that I might assume like, hey, if I want to get this product on a shelf, here's what, the company that would be selling it wants to see.
Yeah.
Or here's what's important to them. And there's a lot of assumptions and you don't know truly what all those things are until you're pitching it to those companies and they're telling you it's not for us. Why not? Oh, because of this. Oh, I never would have thought that would be a reason or something. So you really dig into the nitty gritty.
And I think one of the things that's most important in the world of sales is nobody wants to be sold anything. Everybody wants to buy something. So if you help somebody buy something, it feels like they have more of a decision-making process in it. It's natural in every way.
It is. Or solving a problem, right? Yeah. Like, the product should solve a problem for someone, whatever it is. And so, you're not,
So if you went to a winery and somebody was like, this is the best wine we got, you're going to love it. You'd be like, how would you know?
You don't know what I like.
Yeah.
You don't know what kind of mood I'm in right now.
You just gave me
don't
a
know what
red.
my budget is. Yeah.
I don't drink red.
For sure. I'm a huge believer that also people buy from people.
Totally.
Right?
Yeah,
you know?
for sure.
And so, sales. I mean, it's everything for a small business.
So it's like I learned all that to say I learned what buying actions would come up when somebody was interested in a product, what kind of subtle question they would ask, whether they would grab the bottle, whether they would look over all of the information on the bottle, all these things. So, I mean, right after I gave the gifts out, I probably gave out 22 packs. So I made 50 bottles, I put the label on it. I dipped them in wax. I had a crock pot in my garage. I was, doing the whole thing.
Are one of these like one of those OG kind of, basically?
Actually, the Fresies, which is the red with the white wax, and the Jalapeno, which is the green sauce with the yellow.
Okay.
Those are almost the exact same recipes, slightly tweaked for the sake of like shelf stability, but really not too different at all.
So you nailed the logo, the branding, the recipe right out the gate. That's nice.
I mean, and I had, I got feedback from people as they, would be willing to share it. And I authentically wanted to know what people thought, because I think in entrepreneurship, sometimes you become attached to the romanticism of your idea and that it's going to be something.
100%. Super biased, right? You got to get that fresh set of eyes.
You want the critical feedback. The stuff that you don't want to hear is the stuff you need to hear.
You know what's good about your product, mostly.
For sure.
You don't need to hear. It's nice validating every once in a while, but I mean, I'm the same way. It's tell me everything wrong with this.
Yeah.
I know what's good about it.
Poke the holes.
Poke the holes. Yeah.
So, I mean, we made the first two, the Jalapeno and the Fresies, and we got such a positive response from people. Like, I gave them to family friends and who are realtors and worked in sales and
all different kind of walks of life.
Just like my friends. Yeah. So all these different professions. And one of the guys who I gave it to was like, hey, I want to buy some of these. Can I buy a few of them? And I was like, no, they're gone. Like I gave,
This is a limited run.
Yeah. I was like, that's awesome, but they're gone because I didn't make them with the intent of selling them. I just wanted to give them away. And he was like, oh, okay, well, if you do make some more, I'll buy them from you, And I did some quick math in my head, and I was buying the bottles from Uline, and I was buying the, in very small batches, which if buying small batches in small quantities is expensive. So I'm like, okay, well, it labels this, like bottle costs that, my time, the peppers, whatever. I'm like, these would be at least $10 a bottle if you were to buy them from me. And he was like, I'll take 2 cases of them, and I'll pay you right now.
Wild.
And I was like, okay, so you're just going to give me $240 right now? And yeah, he gave me $250 and he was like, let me know when they're ready and then just drop them off. And
that must have been that must have been one of the, where you really started thinking and realizing like, oh, like this might be a viable business.
Yeah.
Right?
And you know how much hot sauce you can make with $250? I mean, I made probably 75 bottles. So I took, I had still had to buy the bottles.
Money there.
Yeah. I was like, great, cool, I'll do this.
You could have owned half the company.
I know, right off the bat. I mean, he's still one of the first people I go to when I make a new product.
He probably gets all the,
He gets he's actually, he was in the life before I was, working in the can. I guess it was all during that. I used to make and record music, and he taught me how to take these songs that I was writing and actually record them and put them, mix and master and get. So he's always kind of been a supporter. He actually is my real estate agent and got me my warehouse that we use for distribution. So, he's kind of a cornerstone.
He's been
in
there.
My life. Yeah.
Yeah. He's OG.
Shout out to Brian Keegan,
You got to make a sauce like for this guy, like a limited run, his face.
The one that sells out is kind of like a shout out to him because it's called Taco Boys. It emulates a very well-known chain that sells tacos and tacos. I wouldn't say it's Mexican food. I would say it's Mexican-shaped food.
It's Mexican shaped.
But it emulates a very
Interesting.
popular one of their sauces.
Interesting.
And it's like we use higher quality stuff. So he is,
I get it. Yeah.
he has a group of dudes that are called the Taco Boys.
Nice.
You can only get in if you eat 10 tacos from this unnamed location in one sitting. And so I am proud to say I am a taco boy, but he's very much about that life. And this sauce is kind of a shout out to him.
That's cool too. About when you run your own business, like those subtle little cool things you get to do. You know,
It's awesome.
yeah, it's fun.
So I basically, it was like, if I can get one person to buy these,
Mm-hmm.
I can get more people to buy these. And I was working in cannabis at the time, so I started giving them out to clients. They're like, hey.
Those are good lab rats, right?
Yeah, I was like, dude, here, try this. Like,
the next day it's empty.
yeah, they'd leave it on the table in the break room and they'd be like, dude, that was great,
Yeah,
you know?
nice.
And so I slowly started to make more and sell them, like literally from, out of the trunk of my car, essentially. Or, I started posting the process of doing what I was doing on Instagram and got a couple people buying it. And then slowly kept using whatever I sold to buy more, to make more, to buy more, to make more. And then it went from, like 20 bottle batches that were 1.5 gallons, 2 gallons to I got 7-gallon brewing ferment tanks. And then I started to make around 125 or 130 gallons 130 bottles from
Now,
that.
are you going at this point? Are you still like direct to consumer with it? Right, you're just selling direct through your website, through your word of mouth, through your contacts.
Yeah, so if I gave the first bottles away in, let's say, December of 2020, I formed the LLC in May of 2021.
Okay,
And I'm working full time while I'm doing this.
Right.
Like, I'm still working as like, a territory manager and a sales director for this distribution company in cannabis. And I'm driving around San Francisco, San Jose, Santa Rosa, now like everywhere.
so you're just doing the deliveries.
I was not even the deliveries. I would go with the book of business and all the samples. If they wanted
Got
it,
it.
try it. And then I'd place purchase orders and then our delivery team would drop all
But
the
where are you
product
going?
off.
Like, are you just going to shops? Basically,
Yeah,
or-
basically like really not too different than if you're going to a grocery store or a specialty grocer. I was just walking in to dispensaries and asking to meet with the buyer, and they'd have meeting times where you could come in from this time to this time and show samples, go over pricing, answer questions, see how you're going to sell or support the product in store, what kind of marketing collateral you have, all those things. So really, I would drive to these locations and sell them
Just
on whatever
sell
the
them,
new
pitch 'em.
product. And then I'd have a relationship, and then, I'd have products in the store, and then we'd bring on a new brand in the distribution catalog, and I'd go pitch that to them, and be my responsibility to get X amount of shops to pick it up and sell, whatever my quota was. And so I got very familiar with having a new product, going in and talking, or just walking into these places and saying like, hey, I'm here to, I work for this company and I'm here to meet with the buyer. How do I get in touch?
Got it. So, this isn't the hot sauce at this stage.
No, this is
This is your
this
job.
built
This
the
is your
muscle.
9 to 5. You're going out and doing this. And the hot sauce at this time, you're just selling it to friends and family and whoever. You're not going to stores and pitching it or anything.
Not
like
yet.
that.
Really, what I was doing is I was going to a couple restaurants and I would give that to them and say, hey, do you guys want to, use this as a table
Was there a type of
sauce?
restaurant that seemed to vibe with it the most, or was it everybody?
There was a lot of people who I went to restaurants that I used to go to growing up. So I grew up in Santa Rosa and then I moved back. I lived in San Francisco for 10 years and then I moved back really at the start of the pandemic. And so there were a couple restaurants that I used to go to all the time, hey, I'm making these hot sauces. Can I drop you guys some samples of them? And they're like, yeah, sure. And then I'd come back. Hey, did you like them? Yeah, they're great. Can we buy them to put them on tables? Yeah, definitely. Let me figure out what I legally need to do to make that possible, And so did the cottage kitchen, did the commercial kitchen, started formalizing it where it was like, if I'm actually going to do this, let's not get in trouble,
Sure.
Like let's see if we can make some money actually doing it and sort of spread this concept of making hot sauces that are really heavily flavor focused and then have a little bit of heat, but are really about, being delicious.
Right. So how long did you run? Did you do this while maintaining a full-time job?
So I did it. So the entrepreneur journey, as you know, is a wild one. And so I was basically I was working full time and I was working remotely during this period of time because the pandemic. I mean, you just, you know.
And how many days a week would you say roughly are you putting into this?
I was working like a 5 to 9. So I would do my 9 to 5 in the morning.
Wow.
And then I would do hot sauce immediately after.
Just as many hours as you could plug
Yeah.
in before bed, basically.
Basically, like, see how much I could, if the fermentation process if those 45 days had come to the end and the product was ready to be blended and, you know, and pasteurized and then bottled and then dipped and, you know, labeled. And I mean, I'm doing every single part of it. So I was touching every bottle that went out. And like, to an extent, we still do. And we're getting to this place now where we're scaling out of, you know, we've reached this point where we've created a supply chain and a method where it requires significantly less touch points, which you need to do in order to really progress. And so, but yeah, everything up until then, hand labeled, hand dipped, hand filled, hand blended in my Vitamix, you know, all these different things, going to like a restaurant in their off hours, working from 7 p.m. until midnight, bottling it, waking up in the morning, doing my job until 5, dipping it, you know, doing it. And so, yeah, I mean, it was very manual.
So how long did that process of just, you know, working an insane amount, working full time, how long were you doing that before you decided to go all in?
So from 2020, basically, let's say like mid 2021, because that was when it became like a legit LLC business. I worked for another year full time, and then I quit and went full-time hot drops for like 6 months until I needed to make more money to live again. I mean, I was basically funding it all myself, you know? And so I then got a job again, a full-time role, did it for a while until I realized, you know, the cannabis industry wasn't kind of trending in the direction that I was hoping. And so I really went all in for like 8 or 9 months doing hot drops, built a website, got as much inventory as I could, started partnering with local restaurants, not just partnering in terms of selling them hot sauce, but like doing collaboration items on their menu. So, you know, we partnered with a bakery and a pizzeria, and we made a sauce-infused pizza. We partnered with a place called Lunchbox in Sebastopol. We made a specialty burger called the spicy Oklahoma, where we infused the actual cheese that they use on the burger with the freesias. So we started finding ways to use the sauce as an ingredient that were reasons for people to try it and become attached to it as a product that they immediately saw value in because they liked something else. Like, we love this bakery and they have this collab, we're going to try it.
How was that strategy? That was a good, like, it paid off well?
Yeah. I mean, we probably did 13 or 14 collabs with like specialty cocktail bars, with pizza places, with breweries.
Would those places have some stock to sell them there, and then kind of give them your guys' information? And
yeah, they had. So they would sell. They'd buy it wholesale from us. They would sell it retail, and then that was a part. So the way we structured collabs is they would be like a month-long collaboration. That would be the initial set. If they wanted to keep going after, they could, but it was like a marketing tool.
It's great for the restaurant or for the bar too, because it's a different dynamic. It's a new thing to get you inside the door and just, oh, that looks fun, right? Subtle.
Yeah.
Something's happening at this place. Don't even really listen to what is it. You just, you know, and you go and check it out.
It's also, I think it's like when you open a restaurant or a bar or, you know, like a cocktail lounge, you become successful because you have some hits. Like, you have this list of cocktails that people love. You have these pizzas. You have these offerings on your menu. So at some point, they got into it because they're creative and they can create, but then you got to play the hits. And so those hits become very desirable for the consumer, but they become kind of boring, not boring, but maybe like tedious. Whereas, you know, you can't come out with a new wine you can't come out with a new beer every 2 weeks if you're a brewery. You got to build up,
right?
You know, so it gives them an opportunity to still play the hits, but tweak it in a way that's fun. And then that benefits the customers because they already love it. And it benefits the business owner because they just get to do something different, but they are confident that it's going to resonate with the customer. So it's sort of a safe, creative innovation. And it was great. We did it. You know, we made infused cocktails, Bloody Marys, like tequila beverages, like, I know, there's a place called Fern Bar in Santa Rosa or in Sebastopol that makes great cocktails. So we wanted to change the way people look at hot sauce and think of it as an ingredient. So we would incorporate it in different things that people typically wouldn't because they think of hot sauce as a topping. You put it on takeout, you put it on top of something. You don't incorporate it in the recipe. So
I mean, just being with those, partnering with those, like let's say a restaurant, I mean, it checks a few boxes, the exposure for sure, but like you said, like you're essentially showing someone right to their face that this is an ingredient in a bigger thing, and then that sets the gears in motion for other people, right? To not only like your product and see your product, but realize your product can be used in a way they maybe never really thought before, right? So that's it checks a lot of boxes.
It's cool because, like, I mean, from a pizza perspective, most everybody loves pizza. So you see, if you make pizza, a lot of people, more people, which you know better than I do, are making pizza at home. You know, it's a huge, like, I mean, I feel like when I was a kid, you'd make pizzas, you'd get like the Boboli pizza.
Yeah, I mean, there was nothing that could get to the temperature you really needed it to.
No one had ceramic stones they were putting in their oven. No one had it was just not a thought. Now it's like tons of people have at-home ovens. They have, I have a ceramic stone on a barbecue that we get up to, 550 or whatever. And so there's all these different methods of doing it, but when you see somebody make like a pizza place that you go to, make a version of it that you never thought about, and you're like, I have that ingredient at home.
I can do that. Yep.
I can do that, know, or like Bloody Marys. I can put hot sauce in a Bloody Mary, or I can infuse this into my salad dressing, or my ceviche, or my pasta, or my, like it just makes you think. If you like to cook and you like to eat, then it gives you this additional ingredient. And really, hot sauce is comprised of foundational ingredients. It's like onion, garlic. It has a little bit of sweet, savory, spicy, sour if it's fermented. So it's sort of this like hack ingredient that you can use and incorporate. Like, I'll put hot sauce straight in the rice cooker, and then you have like low effort Spanish rice.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Nobody thinks about that until it's all that you say it or you show it, and they're like, I can do that. So it gives you more control to have more fun and more, play with your food and cook at home. And yeah.
Do you have like on your website, do you have like different ways you can
totally, yeah. We do a lot of we'll do a lot of like recipes. Like we'll make a not sauce hummus. We'll make a jalapeno chimichurri. We'll do a fraise yes buffalo, which, by the way, buffalo sauce is your favorite red hot sauce mixed with butter, which is why you love it. That's literally it. So if you ever want to make buffalo sauce in your air and use air fried wings, that's the recipe. But like with the if I want to make a spicy margarita, I'm not going to muddle jalapenos or something. I don't have that on hand. But if I have everything else and I can just throw a couple dashes of hot sauce in, I'm getting the same thing in essence. So it's like, cool, this is a great way to just do that. So we show a lot of recipes of how we create a marinade, a dressing, a glaze, or whatever, how you can use the ingredients that you have in your refrigerator in the door that's probably taking up too much space and your wife is annoyed with, or girlfriend, to use to make something else. So like, that's the whole point, is to show people how you can use it, because when they see it through the world of social media, they think of it in terms of how I could do this. Like,
yes,
easy.
How can I utilize?
I do it.
It's
100%. Natural. So yeah, that the collab helped to bridge the gap in people's mind that like I could do some of these things at home, which obviously helps me, because then people see the product, they associate what they saw the collaboration with Hot Drops, and they're like, I can make a Hot Drops pizza at home, or I could make a Hot Drops, spicy marg, or I could make, ceviche. So that's the whole goal, was to just paint hot sauce in a different light, where it's not an afterthought. It can be a part of your prep for whatever you're making. You like Caesar salads? They're better with not sauce. Trust me.
It's just a very hands-on, grassroots style marketing, right? Where you're getting right into it.
It's a testament to what we talked about earlier from a sales perspective. People like to buy because they see a reason that applies to them. I don't want to be like, our hot sauce is the best, you should buy it, because
someone just coming in and
so.
telling you, hey, you need to buy this thing. And it's just like, hey, here's this thing. If you like it, you can buy it.
Nowadays, too, I think the consumer has a healthy amount of skepticism around what they're told, because they need to experience it themselves. That's why I think it's more valuable to showcase than tell. Like, you could take my word at face value, but if I show you that I literally just made this beverage, this glaze, this salad dressing, this buffalo sauce, it's right there. I did it.
Yeah.
You can do it. You don't, even if you're interested, then that's really all you need as a barrier of entry to get into it. So, and hot sauce.
Yeah. So during this time, was there like a big sale or like a big, deal you did that really kind of laid the foundation to more accelerated growth that you can think of?
Yeah, I think there's a couple different things. One person bought about $500 worth of sauce because they wanted to give them away to clients when they bought a house, or like I want to give them 3 bottles when they buy a house, because giving a bottle of wine or a bottle of alcohol is almost like less accepted now,
Sure.
because there's people who are averse to drinking, or sober, or just they might like to drink.
It's also not original. It's like,
Yeah, and immediately people are like, "Is it a good wine?
Yes.
Is it expensive?"
Yes.
And so hot sauce is void of that, because people are like, "Oh, this is awesome. I love hot sauce." So there's not this like, is it an expensive luxury hot sauce? Yeah. Like no one goes through that mental effort. So it's like a more playful thing. It's colorful. It's minimal. It pops out like, and the other thing was I convinced the companies that I was working for in the cannabis space to let me expense my own hot sauce so I could give it to buyers as an incentive.
Nice.
Like, hey, I got some hot sauces for you. Can I drop them off?
Right.
Oh, by the way, we also have these 2 new items. Let me know what you think. That got me in front of the line for so many of these different like buyers that I didn't.
Sure.
Or like, because it was universal. Like, you only dislike hot sauce, like we said, if you don't like spice. But I had a hot sauce that was not spicy. So it was like a one size fits all. And I could easily, I have this one that's hot and this one that's not.
Mm-hmm.
Let me know which one you like. Oh, by the way, here are the 3 new brands that we're representing. I'm just going to drop these off for you. I'll follow up with an email. Let me know what you like.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was like, so I was expensing my own product.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, I'm going to use my business card. And I wasn't doing it initially. I was like, well, this would be cool for me and for me. But like, it actually worked. And so then a couple of my bosses were like, this is a good idea. And even now, fast forward, and I'll address the other part, but one of the big bulk purchasings that we have is software companies that want to say, hey, we're dropping a new product as a part of our software. That's how they announce it. They drop a box. I make a custom 4x6 insert that says, hey, here at, Okta or whatever, we're releasing a new product. We thought we would drop, we're going to drop this product. And so we thought, what better way to announce it than to drop you some hot drops as well? And so they'll buy 200 boxes and send them out to all their
corporate
clients.
accounts, basically. Yeah.
They don't care. And nobody needs another Yeti that's branded.
True.
Nobody wants another
We want
tote
consumables.
bag.
I don't have any fucking room
You know
for
how much
Yetis.
And this sticks around longer than the Yeti that sits in a shelf because you already have a Yeti. So then people are like, yeah, this is cool. Someone's like, where'd you get that hot sauce? I actually got it as a corporate gift. And people are like, that's way more desirable than a hat.
Yeah.
You know?
It's great.
And they bring it up every time they use it, or it enters their mind. I got this as a result of that. So it's really smart, because hot sauce, even as like a present during the holidays, is a gift that keeps giving. As a marketing tool, it continues to bring up whoever was using it as a marketing tool if you're a company. So I was expensing it. Had a couple of my close friends who loved it, who were realtors, buy a big amount, and then grocery stores, or not grocery stores, sorry, small restaurant groups or restaurant locations would be like, hey, can we buy a case of each of these and retail them
for different locations and stuff? Or
yeah. They'd be like, hey, these are awesome. They'd send me an Instagram message. Can we buy 4 or 5 cases? Because we sell Chili Crisp and we sell a couple different, craft beers and wines as a part of our offerings. We have this little tiny shop in our winery or whatever. So all these people started reaching out, asking if they could retail it. And so that was an indicator to me. Again, this isn't just something that people are going to enjoy if I buy it, I sell it out of the trunk of my car. They actually want to use this as an offering in their specialty store. That opens up a new channel of wholesale instead of direct to consumer through the website and shipping it out. Now I'm in locations, and those locations also act as marketing tools because people see it and it gives you brand validation.
Right.
More people
it's just
see
different. Yeah. Different revenue stream, different,
So there wasn't one moment where somebody bought $5,000 worth of hot sauce, but there were moments where it felt like somebody bought $5,000 worth of hot sauce because they bought 500. And I was like, I can make X amount of bottles with $500, which would then represent X amount of revenue. So it started to sort of very organically, no pun intended, but organically grow. And these other sales channels became more viable. And now, we're in grocery stores, we're distributed on Fair. We will sell and ship it across the country. We're in places in Canada. A couple people have bought it internationally. It's It's crazy. I'm at that point where I went somewhere and I saw stickers in a different county or a different state that I didn't put there. And I was like, what? This is like, wow, how is this in Montana in a brewery? Like, this is awesome.
That's so cool.
Yeah. So it's just, that was the initial phase. And then it's kind of blossomed into different pathways.
You were on a Gordon Ramsay show.
I was, yeah.
Which show was it?
It was called Gordon Ramsay's Food Stars.
Okay.
So it was the second season. It was filmed in London. It was actually filmed in February. And to answer your question, kind of before, I was working a full-time job and running hot sauce on the side, like basically 2 full-time jobs at this point, because hot sauce is like, we're producing like 10,000 bottles or whatever.
So you're getting home from work, your normal job, and you're working crazy hours to sustain it and keep it going.
Yeah. And like, I loved it. Like, it was what actually fueled me. And then I would go to work so that I could get more revenue to invest in my idea and then watch that grow. So it was like a symbiotic relationship, but it felt kind of like using my powers for evil. So I was like, I don't love selling this stuff, but it enables me to buy more and like live my life and, invest more in this company. So yeah, I'm working at this job. It was actually, we're in Napa. So it was in Napa, and February last year, February 15th. So I was visiting my sister who lives in London, and I got a call after interviewing for 3 months for this show that I wasn't totally sure what it was.
Okay, so wait, how did you get turned on to this show?
Someone reached out through the Instagram.
Just said, hey, this might be you might want to apply or see if you can get on this show.
Hey, we like your videos. Your cooking videos are cool. You seem like you would be a good candidate for this food show.
Got it. So they were searching. They were actively searching for, and then they caught on to you, but they probably messaged hundreds and thousands.
I think they messaged, like, the woman who I ended up talking to for months. Yeah, she was like, we reach out to thousands of people for all these shows, for Master Chef, for everything. We're sourcing people, they don't.
That's their job, to fill with the best people or companies to be in these different roles. So they reach out to you, and you're like, sure, like I'll apply. Right? There's just probably some fairly simple application process. Yeah,
and like, I mean, it felt simple initially, but they were like, hey, you should do this. So they sent me a link. I filled it out. They're like, yeah, okay, this is good. Like, I underestimated how lengthy these processes are. It was like 3 months of interviewing. Like, really? And so, so I'm assuming people are dropping off at every phase, and the pool is getting smaller and smaller. Yeah. So like, what are the interviews like? Are you're talking to people or Zooms? I'm doing 200 question, like, short answers, not multiple choice. Like, explain your brand. How did it start? What is your goal? This is 200 questionnaires, and I did like multiples of these. I had psychiatric evaluations on Zoom. I did full on like mental health assessments. I did Zooms. I talked to studio executives. I talked to, all the lawyers. I talked to tons of different people so that they could determine if I was going to be a contestant that reflected well on their business. The last thing they want is for some bad thing to happen, that comes up, and they're like, this guy will, storm the Capitol, or something, and it's like,
I would imagine the vetting process at that level is fairly thorough.
Definitely.
Did you, so this is like a 3-month.
I'm doing this while working full time. Like, I'm taking these interviews in my car at lunch.
You're working both your jobs, right? Yeah. And doing this. And during that 3-month process, was there a time early on, halfway through, where they're like, you're pretty much on this show. We just got to not, assuming everything goes well, or do you really just have no clue?
I had no clue. I mean, I assumed as these interviews kept happening that they must have had some interest, because if they didn't, they wouldn't waste their own time. So I'm like, I think I kind of have a good chance. And, for a long part of it, I had no idea what the show was, because they're very,
like, the concept or
this is a very well-known cooking on a major network. This person very well. So I'm like, okay, is it Guy Fieri? That would be tight. I'm from Santa Rosa. Is it, is it Gordon Ramsay? Is it, who could this be? What is this? But all I know is, if this is going to help me sell more hot sauce, this is worth my time. Go for it.
Yeah, and you can always say no if you do get picked, right?
But, totally, yeah.
So when did you know? When did they?
So they let me know who it was, like 3 weeks before I got the call to, like, they were like, okay, so you're under NDA. You can't tell anybody about this. The show is for Gordon Ramsay's Food Stars. It's going to be filmed in London. It's a show about entrepreneurs in the food space where you get the opportunity to talk about your skill sets that you've developed throughout this process of building your brand. And so I'm like, okay, cool. Yeah, this sounds great. Live in London, you know, like talk about hot sauce. Like,
Yeah.
I'm in, you know, like this sounds awesome. And so I'm actually coincidentally visiting I was in London with my college roommates, and they were going and like visiting a bunch of soccer stadiums and football stadiums, and clubs, if you will. Yeah, I don't want to, you know. Now that I'm like, having lived there for a while, I got to show some respect. But so I joined them, and I took PTO from this job and, you know, flew out there last minute, hang out with them, hang out with my sister who lives there. And I'm walking around with my sister, and I get a call. And they're like, hey, do you have a second? Are you around anybody? And I'm like, no, you know? And so this is blah, blah, blah with Studio Ramsey. You've been selected to fly out to London. And I'm like,
I'm here.
Yeah. I'm like, do I just stay? Like, how does this work? You know, like, I'm actually in London currently, like right now. And she's like, oh my God, no way. Well, you're going to be back here in a week. And I'm like, oh.
That soon. And you had no idea that you were even going to get picked.
No.
You didn't know when it started. You kind of understood the chef and the concept.
Totally.
But that hits you hard right there.
I mean, it was this shot of adrenaline that was great because like I used to make and perform and, you know, like compete in ciphers and battles and whatever in music. And so I was like, this is going to be fun. Like, it's like a performance. Like I get to talk about this thing that I love that has become a huge part of my life. And I get to like be a part of it. I'm ready to do this. Like I was never like, oh God, this is going to be nerve wracking. I was like, this is going to be awesome.
There's no doubts really. You knew like, this is the right move for me, for my business, where I'm at with what I am interested in. And do they tell you how long it's going to be?
So here's the catch. I got selected to audition, not to just be on the show.
Okay.
So the way it works is they chose 27 people to audition.
Okay.
Flew 27 people out. Mm-hmm. Then you interviewed, you pitched your product like Shark Tank style to Gordon Ramsay, and then who ended up being the co-host was Lisa Vanderpump. And so you pitch them, and then one of them or both of them select you to be a part of their team. If one of them selects you, you're on your team. You're on their team, so you're on Team Lisa or Team Gordon. If they both select you, you get to choose which team you want to be on.
Does everyone get selected though? No.
14 people got selected of the 27.
14 of the 27.
So it's like almost 50% of the people who upended their life to fly out to London to pitch their brand, you know, went home 3 days after flying out. So I quit my job because
you don't know if you're going to get selected or not. You might be out there for months. You might be out there for 3 days.
Yeah.
So you quit. You had to, right?
I had to, yeah.
Yeah.
Which is
because what are you going to say? Like, I might be back in 3 days. Maybe it's 3 months. Maybe never.
And
just
they're like,
hold my spot for me.
And they're like, what are you doing? And I'm like, I can't tell you because I signed NDAs.
Oh, that too, right?
Yeah. And they're
like, he's a spy.
Yeah. They're like, what is this? Like, you are a full-time employee at this company. Like, you can't. So you're asking for an undetermined leave of absence for, you don't even know if it's 2 months or 3 months.
How long have you been there at this point?
Like 8 months. Wow. 7 maybe.
And you can't tell them why you're under NDA.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess you can tell them that it's like the general concept.
I can allude to what's happening, but I'm like, I told them, I was like, legally, I want to tell you, but I legally cannot tell you.
Right.
So I can allude to the fact that this is an opportunity for me to, you know, and it's like the last thing a brand like that wants to hear is like, I have this side project that I want to be my full-time thing. And they're like, you work for us. We're a $7 billion, we're a $3 billion global corporation. Like, this is what we want to hear. We want you to be a workhorse, you know? And I'm like, if I'm getting this opportunity, I'm taking this. Like, and so I did, and I asked for that, and I was like, I either need a indeterminate leave of absence starting today, or I need to basically hand in my resignation.
Like, bye.
Yeah, and they were like, okay, well, we'll get everything set up. This will probably be end of the week will be your last day. And like, so on the 15th, I got the call to be on it. On the 24th, I was on a plane flying out with 2 to 3 months worth of clothes.
Wild.
An entire carry-on or a check bag full of hot sauce, all with the hope that I get chosen and that I'm on this show and that I get to compete. But it's elimination based, so I could be sent home first, second, third, fourth, fifth, whatever. And so I packed my bags, metaphorically and in reality, and I headed out to London, and
You're good. No problem with customs and hot sauce.
no, I mean, if anything, they had a. I was worried about that. I vacuum sealed them.
I was gonna say,
these
yeah.
like in this box you see behind you. I literally bought vacuum seal bags at Costco. Used my vacuum sealer.
Can you imagine?
Like they were like hanger steaks. Put it into a giant carry-on. Checked it. It was like 75 pounds. You know, they paid for all that, and they needed the product, and they built a set for me to roll it out to do the audition. It was like, you know, like you were watching, you know, Giada or, you know, Jeffrey Zarkarian or any of these people like on a cooking set, Maddie Matheson, and they built it for me, had my logo, hot drops, had my whole product lined up on the shelves, and I made a cocktail. I made a Bloody Mary, and I made a watermelon feta and mint salad with a spicy dressing for them to try. And ultimately Gordon chose me, which was like, that's what I wanted. I wanted to be on Gordon's team.
You just want to get chosen.
Definitely wanted to get chosen.
But yeah, if you had to pick.
Well, my thought was like, I'm glad I did this cocktail because Lisa Vanderpump is like in the world of alcohol.
Sure.
And so I was like, which I think she hated her face. You can watch it on the episode. She was like, oh, I don't like that. Maybe Bloody Mary's kind of a polarizing cocktail, but
also like that's her industry. So she's probably got a just a
objectively
standard for, you know,
So, and Gordon, you know, like he was like, it's great. I like it. I think it's good. You know,
he got
like,
the whole flavor part of it, that it's flavor, and
he understood it, and it is flavor over heat. So it, you know, like England's not super like stereotypically they're like, we don't, you know, it's not like a spice heavy place, but it's got some of the best food. Like, they have some of the best restaurants in the world in London. Absolutely. Most of them are French, but like, you know, but the Indian food is insane. Like, it is an international city for sure. So there's, you know, whatever. He saw the value in it. I think
he picked you.
He respected the fact that I quit my job to be there, you know, and I actually rapped for him in the interview. I don't know why they didn't keep that in the show, but I used to freestyle like competitively.
So you had like something set up to.
I was like, give me your favorite. Yeah, I was like, tell me, like, I'm going to make a, you know, basically a rap related to hot drops for you. What's your favorite spice, meal? You know,
nice. And so you just freestyled it.
And he
Why
was
wouldn't
like,
they use that?
I don't know. They even told me in the auditions, they were like, you have to rap.
Like, so you knew. You were like, I have to. And
I was like, well, I basically like the whole music. That was like my thing. Party trick turned like music touring thing was like rapping. So freestyle, like you give me 2 topics and I'll make you a song or whatever.
Use it.
Yeah, and they didn't even use it. And I was like, man, what a missed opportunity. Yeah. I'll never forget though. He's like, you know, I want you to be on Team Ramsey. And then I'm walking out and he was like, and Andrew, like, no more rapping. You know, I was like, whatever you say, boss. Like, I'll, you know, but yeah, so then I did that, filmed it. We were there for like 7 weeks, met some of the coolest people. Actually, my now girlfriend ended up being the winner. We weren't dating at the time, but we started dating after. It's crazy.
Wild.
I know. Being an entrepreneur is kind of a lonely world, to be honest.
Sure.
Like, so it was really, being on the show was amazing and fun and all that. The most valuable time was being around these other like-minded individuals who share the same somewhat delusional faith in an idea they came up with in their head, confidence in themselves, and creativity. And you just hang out with them. They take your phones for the filming.
You got nothing else to do.
So we're playing cards. We're going out to dinner. We're doing like getting to know each other and going through this, you know, lightly traumatic experience of being in front of the reality, being, you know, yelled at by Gordon, being told your idea sucks or it's great or whatever. And in these they're made up pressure cooker scenarios, like make a food truck.
Yeah.
It's profit based. Whoever makes the most profit wins. If you lose, someone's going home. Make a speakeasy experience. You know, whoever.
Entrepreneurial, like
fun stuff.
You gotta,
So for me, I was like, this is great.
This is like the dream.
So I get theoretically to make up 7 or 8 different businesses. This is awesome.
Dude, that's.
Yeah. And I got a whole team, like the Studio Ramsey Culinary team is like, all right, you guys are going to make skirt steak tacos. They have all the stuff available
Everything
for you to
need.
make your, And so, I mean, within reason, they don't have like a massive everything, but like it was a challenge.
More than enough. It's still more than enough to,
And you're playing the game of like, you know, being on a reality TV show. You're competing really against your team. You know, but it was the best experience I have ever been in. I am so appreciative and feel so fortunate that I got an opportunity to meet all these unique people in the production world, in the entrepreneur world. I talked to like 6 of these people every week.
Seriously. So you must have gotten close. I mean, like you say, they take your phones. You're going through this, like you said, just this experience together. When you're not doing that on your downtime, you're together spending time
in London.
and you're all same mindset, right? Starting businesses and you know, at very similar stages too of your owning and starting a company. So
yeah. So the first episode was like Shark Tank. You pitch your brand, and then the rest of the episodes were like
competition,
business competition. It had really nothing to do with your brand after the first episode. The last episode did because a spoiler, I guess I have to kind of spoil it, but so I got voted out in 4th place. So I'm in every episode, but I didn't make it to the finale, which was the final 3.
So you made 4th out of 14, was it?
4th out of 14, yeah.
Okay.
So, I mean, my goal when I got there was like, I just want to get to the finale. Like, that's a win. If I make it to the finale, sure, getting $250,000 is awesome. And that would be great, which was the prize. But I would rather, like, if I can make it to this final thing and I get this platform to talk about my product, that's great. So I got close. I got a lot more than a majority of the contestants. But yeah, so I got this unique opportunity to meet all these people and become friends with all these really creative entrepreneurs that I ultimately really respected because I was learning about their business, whether it was baby food, a food truck, pretzel company, Gen Z focused wine, you know, sauces, condiments, barbecues. Like, it was everything. It wasn't like just restaurants and chefs. It was like people with ideas and they made brands out of them. And so, yeah, it was great. Like, you know, and we did that. We filmed it from February to the middle of end of February, like beginning of March to the middle of April. It's like a 6 or 7 week process. Crazy. And then you go back to your life.
Yeah.
You can't talk about it. And then it came out a month and a half later, which is crazy. If you own a brand, you know how much work had to go into that month and a half to ramp up for national coverage?
Yeah.
And sure enough, first episode promoting the show is, hey, I'm Andrew Whiting, and this is my brand, Hot Drops. On the first commercial, within the first 5 seconds of this nationally syndicated commercial to promote the show. And I'm like, what the? Like, I'm at the gym on a treadmill and I see me. And I'm like, this is insane. Like,
what was the response like?
My phone exploded.
Wow.
Like, from like, dude, did I just see you on a commercial for Gordon Ramsay? Because I haven't talked to
no one knew.
My
you
family,
couldn't tell
my
anyone.
parents knew, my photographer knew, and they signed NDAs. My sister. So like my immediate family and my photographer. Crazy.
Wow. And so as far as business and sales, did that have that? What kind of impact?
The first episode, because you're really pitching you and your brand and the value prop of a fermented hot sauce versus a traditional hot sauce, it was like my website got, through the website, I think we got like 50 to 65 orders, like,
wow.
Which I was like, yes, this is why I did this.
Yeah,
you know?
exactly. Well, you got to, like you said, the other episodes, you know, after the first one, it wasn't so much about the individual or the brand. It was kind of about the show. But that first episode, you get to do just this hard pitch on your product. And since it's such a short time period, they're not giving you tons of time to just ramble. You've consolidated your message. You've got it dialed in. You know what you want to say. And that's going to resonate with anyone watching. Yeah. Right. And
the pitch was, so the way they gave us in the pitch, it was 3 minutes is what we had. And we had to I had to go downstairs to a hotel conference room and pitch the producers before we were on camera so that they could give me a suggestion on how to tweak it or shorten it or emphasize this or whatever. Had them approve my outfit, you know, all this stuff. And then, so it was a 3 minute pitch. They probably kept, I think, like maybe 40 seconds of it on the actual show when it was aired. But yeah, I mean, it was like an investor pitch.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's definitely Shark Tank vibes for sure. Yeah.
How much turnover have you had? How many bottles is this? Like, what is your goal for next year? What's your goal for? It was cool. I mean, I loved that. That was so fun to talk about. So, and it's, again, like in the world of entrepreneurship, you come up with something, you try it, you build a skill set. It's like the muscle. It doesn't work or it does work. And then you do it again with something else and the muscle gets stronger over time. And so, yeah, it was great. It was like, it was so fun to be able to talk about this thing that you believe in.
What an experience. I mean, you know, that's awesome.
Yeah, it was great. And so, and then it aired and went through it and like held watch parties in Santa Rosa. Primarily at Old Cas Brewing. And it was awesome. It was such a fun experience.
Did you tell everyone when it launched, right? And you have the first, and now you can obviously talk about the fact that you're on this show. Could you still say who won or no? Like you had...
You
at that
could only
stage.
talk about
What had been showed so
aired.
far.
Yeah.
Got
So
it.
like, I mean, when you get to the semifinal, very easily could have been me.
Yeah.
And so I planned a watch party knowing I was going to get eliminated.
Right.
And the vibe in that
Just so
room,
people wouldn't know. Yeah.
I mean, and it's hard too because people are coming up to you and they're
Were they
like,
bummed?
"We know you, dude. We know you won. Like you had to have won, And I'm like, like. But I think also the upside of that is that they all had faith in the fact that like they're watching the show the same as everybody else. So like, I was getting messages from people I never met, from people across the country,
cool.
like, I'm pulling for you, man. I really think you got it. Like, I'm so, you crushed it on this.
That's cool, man.
That was, so yeah, it was top tier. I hold it very close to my heart as one of the coolest experiences I've ever been in.
You gonna do it again? You gonna go for something like that again?
I'm under NDA, but no, I'm definitely, it also showed me like, all right, so we do these collabs. Why don't I just make a series out of these collabs?
There you go.
And so we
do it yourself. No NDA needed.
Now I've seen how they did it. I saw how they filmed it. I saw how they edited it. I saw how they framed things, and I was like, I can do this. So
You got a network now of like-minded individuals across the country who were on it, right?
got some collabs coming up with some of them. Like
very cool.
One of the guys, Roman Desmond, has a company called Hotbox Pretzels in Florida, in Jacksonville, and so he was doing it was a truck, but now he's made pretzel bites that he ships out, and so we're gonna do a collaboration using
breaded or hard or
it's like a soft pretzel
soft
bite.
pretzel. Yeah.
And they're delicious, and like it's motivating talking to being in touch with these people who's like it was actually what his finale, he made it to the finale as one of the final three, and I helped him, develop his product as a part of the episode, as they brought me back to help him and support him in his endeavor. And like his idea was to make these pretzel bites. He made it. Now he's making them and he's selling them. And so we got some dry spices that we've made that it's the hot drop, under the hot drops label called Yeet Pop. And just hot drops and yeet pops, So it's a dried spice, like a pepper flake, kind of similar to what you'd get at like at a pizza place, so like if you went to a chain. But it's fermented pepper flakes made from the leftover mash of when we blend and process.
Oh, there you go.
So
sustainability.
We don't zero waste. He's gonna package it up. I send him bulk, and he's gonna put it in the bags, and they make shakes, cinnamon, spicy, case, like all these different ones. So, and then Jess, who's my girlfriend who won, she owns a company called Whiny Baby, which is a Gen Z targeted wine company to increase the consumer base, which is narrowing away from
We were
the younger
just talking about
generations.
that. I was talking to one of the former head chef at Mondavi, and he was saying how generationally, they're seeing the shift.
Yeah.
Big opportunity.
Huge opportunity. And I mean, her brand is called Whiny Baby, and it's like in Target and Whole Foods, and it's done great. And then, so yeah, it's awesome to be a part of this network of people who are just committed to doing stuff. And it can be frustrating. So it's nice when you call somebody and they understand what you're going through, and they're like, you got to keep doing it. You know, like this
muscle memory, just over and over and over.
Stick to the plan. Don't stick to how you feel, just keep going. And so, it's just nice to have, it almost feels like a support group of like entrepreneurs who are like purposely putting themselves in tough situations. It's like, we're all sadistic. We should help each other out.
Yeah, exactly.
So it was amazing. The show was great. It had a big impact for sure. It was more about I became more about the brand of Andrew Whiting as an entrepreneur, less about hot drops, which I wanted. I went there to sell hot sauce. I wanted people to learn about it. And I got that opportunity to a degree, and it gave me a platform to be able to do more of it. And so it's all a win. I can't wait. I'll definitely be in front of the camera again. There might be something that we've already filmed. I don't know. Can't say, but.
And if we wanted to see that, so like, what's your Instagram? What's your website? How do people find you?
So Instagram is at Hot Drop Sauce. Website, hotdropsauce.com. It's singular, so HOTDROP sauce. And the show is called Food Star Season 2. It streams on Hulu. It's on Fox if you have it. Gordon Ramsay. And TikTok is all the same thing. Hotdropsauce.com, everything.
And then just so like you have those two sauces that sell out. So like how do people, like, is there a mailing list they get on when they go to the website? These are like,
So we don't pre-sell any of them on the website. What we do is we just collect an email. And
Got it.
so like if you want it, just drop your email. And then the minute that it's in stock, we'll send a blast out and first come, first serve.
Nice.
And then we also we retain a portion of them to do at various farmers markets so that people who are local can come and grab them. Because if you're local, you don't want to pay shipping. I get that. You want to come pick it up. And then, so the goal is ultimately to get those into the entirety of the portfolio consistently because, it speaks for itself. People are waiting and lining up and giving me, like the go ahead to send them an email when it comes in, and they're buying like 4 at a time. So
you like put limits on it.
I'm like, first come, first serve. Like, I'm not going to sell you a case, but like, if you want to buy 12 bottles, I will ship it to you.
Nice.
Who am I to say no?
Awesome. All right. Well, hey man, dude, it was great hearing your story, and congrats on all the success. Definitely going to try this guy. This is the one for the pizza, right?
Yeah.
Frezzy,
they can all be for pizza with the right attitude. But
I love it. Awesome.
I mean, the whole ethos with this too is like
feels good.
Fermented hot sauces are different than your average one that you get access to. It takes a little bit more time, but all the good things do.
Yep.
So it's good for your gut. It's probiotic. It goes through the process, so it's postbiotic. Most hot sauces will hurt you the second time around, because of this process of fermentation. They actually help you in digestion.
Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah.
So they help. They don't hurt. They're 0 calorie. They just pop flavor into whatever you like. And it doesn't take much to become a droplet. Just a couple drops.
All you need. Awesome. All right, Andrew. Thanks for coming, man. It was great talking to you.
Thank you very much for having me. This is a pleasure.